Hey guys, how's it going? I am the ConflictNerd. Hello and welcome back to The Sims 4. Welcome to another building video. Today we're going to be building the Mighty Cock. Yes, we're building a pub. An old English pub called the Mighty Cock. I literally called it that just to make that joke. Not even kidding. So yes, we're building an old English-styled pub. Not exactly perfect, it's not entirely a clone of old English-style pubs, but it's sort of inspired by, sort of looks a bit like an old-school English pub. And I couldn't be happier with how it turned out, to be honest. I'm really proud of this build. It's, in my mind, better than the first one we did, Light Reading, so there's that. I don't know, I don't like to sit and say that I did a good job, but I think I did a pretty good job on this build. So, yeah, that's fantastic news. Just going about here and actually putting together the structure, the upper floor is going to be a little bit bigger than the lower floor. That's just so we can have the correct look. If you Google Old English pubs, or English pub exterior, you'll find the picture that I based this off. The upper floor is a little bit bigger, and the roof is quite tall with three kind of peaked things on the front and back as well, like this. There's going to be three of these, all the same height, just right across there, spaced out quite nicely. These really set off the look in the end. They look absolutely perfect. I couldn't be happier with how the exterior of this build goes on to look. It just looks right. Now, we're just messing about with chimneys here. I don't actually end up adding one of the chimney stacks itself. There is a fireplace inside the building by the end, but there's no chimney stack. Anyway, moving on to actually texturing the outer walls. Couldn't really come up with something to begin with on the lower section. Eventually just settled on some nice grey brick, and I do think it looks really good. Some nice black slates for the roof. Worked out quite nicely as well, and we do sort of change the upper floor exterior a little bit to not have the accents on the corners, because we're actually going to be putting some pillars on those corners instead of the actual accents that we have there. The pillars work better, they add more detail, they just look right, and they look like a continuation of the pillars that are holding those various corners up, so it just worked. Messing about with the roof in the back here, wasn't quite sure how to do it. In the end, I just go with this style. I was a little bit annoyed I couldn't continue the trim around under the roof, but that was okay. We just kind of fixed that by continuing the brick exterior up onto the section of wall there that's on the roof. It makes it look a little bit more detailed. It makes it look like it might be an extension that's been built onto the pub at some point. Now, I was considering going around here and replacing the outer wall with fences, but if you look closely, not even closely, you'll have noticed that it's not symmetrical, it doesn't space out properly, and it looks really bad. So I tried a couple of things, you know, it just didn't work though. It does not work at all. We go back to the wall that we had, and in the end, I sort of didn't notice that it didn't quite blend in, and I was actually really happy with how the wall looked in the end. That's the beer garden out behind the pub, and I think it looks good. Now we're just going here and adding in a little, I suppose, a porch type thing, because I felt the front of the building needed something like this. It looked a little bit bland and a little bit boring. This just set it off quite nicely and gives us a nice entranceway. Now, I wasn't quite sure what to do with the door here, but we do end up going back to this arched one, which I think is quite nice. It also means we're going to be using the more wooden windows as opposed to the white ones around here, and I quite like them. I really like them. Gonna be putting loads of flowers outside of this build. That's something worth mentioning. Just to kind of, I don't know. I live streamed this build. I probably should have mentioned that. I was streaming this entire build. It was a 2.5-hour process. There were 30 minutes where I sort of built it as a plan and to get an idea of what I was going to do, and then I tore it all down and built it again for the recording. And someone in the chat, I can't remember who it was, but someone in the chat said do loads of roses around the windows and stuff like that, and I don't know, I think it works. I can't remember what the reasoning was, but whatever it was, putting the roses in front of the windows just worked really nicely. Now, I was toying about with windows. I wasn't quite sure how to do it, because I wanted some good looking windows, but there weren't really anything all that special. I did consider having the windows up high like this, and it looked alright from the outside, but in a little bit we go inside and we see that the windows are just a little bit too high. They don't really work being up that high, because it would probably come up midway onto your chest by the time you can see outside, which isn't really how a window should work. So we do end up going about and lowering them a little bit, but that's not anytime soon. Adding in an area here for the bathrooms. I decided to have 3 bathrooms on the lower floor here. There's 2 upstairs as well. There we go, lowering the windows because they looked a bit silly. I did consider having the planters above the windows, but that, again, looked a bit silly. Back to the bathrooms. We're all over the place with this build. Back to the bathrooms, just adding in all the doors and stuff right now. That other room is actually going to be a kitchen. And I know there's not going to be any chefs or anything back there, but I just wanted a kitchen. I wanted an area where you can just get food. I wanted it to be a bar that also serves some nice food, so that's the purpose of that. That's why there's a kitchen here. Adding in some windows to the bathrooms as well, nice tall windows, and a couple of, well, a single raised area out the back. Well, there's 2 raised areas, but one of them is for the stairs down to the beer garden. The raised areas are going to be just, they're really just there so it's not a boring flat area out there, and honestly there's no other reason. Adding in a door to the kitchen there, we're going to be moving that a little bit later on because of the way we designed the bar. I'm actually really proud of how the bar ends up looking. The whole in fact the whole build, honestly. I don't want to sit here and go, I'm fantastic, because there's people out there that are much better builders in The Sims than I am. You know, you've got Curtis Parody, you've got James from the Sim Supply, there's Deligracy, and if you don't know those channels, go check out the Sim Supply, Deligracy, and the Curtis Parody show. Those guys are properly amazing Sims 4 builders, and they're kind of where I get a lot of my drive to be a builder in The Sims 4. I don't see myself going out into the community and being like, hey guys, I built a thing, but you know, those guys do their bit, and it's absolutely amazing. So anyway, that's a bit of a tangent. On to interior design here. I wanted paneling. I knew I wanted paneling inside of the bar because of all the pictures I saw on Google of English pubs. They all had lots of dark wood paneling, so that was something we definitely needed. Now here we go, adding in the bar. It is a nice big bar with these pillars on either side. These pillars end up looking so good. It works so well having these pillars here, and I could not be happier. The whole bar just ends up looking amazing. I will say the bar is brilliant looking. It does exactly what it needs to do, and you know, I say this is an old English pub. It doesn't look old as such. It looks like a modern building that's trying to look old, if you know what I mean. It's obvious that it's not an old building. It's just styled to look that way. And I like it. I really like it. Anyway, you saw me moving the door away. That's because I wanted to put all this behind the bar and put in some cabinets and stuff like that. And this is what I mean. It looks so good. We add some paintings into the gaps there. We add some clutter to the counters, and in a little bit, I'm not quite sure when, we'll be changing the texture along that back wall to the same stone that we have there, adding a bit more clutter around the place, considering changing the floor, but I don't bother because it would come under the cabinet, the counters a little bit, the island counters a little bit, and I just didn't want that. Anyway, moving on to more decoration. Another kind of staple of bars and pubs. I don't know how many people are aware of this, but I'll kind of talk about it a little bit. I've been in my fair share of bars and pubs. Not really a big drinker, but I've been in them. They have paintings all over the place, and a lot of the time they never match. They're never like a set. The frames aren't the same, and they're all different sizes. So I sort of wanted to do that with this build and put different paintings all over the place. Some of them match, most of them don't. And it actually looks really good. It gives it a little bit of character, makes it look that little bit better, and I love it to bits. Anyway, just adding in some lighting here to brighten the place up. Something you'll probably know, there we go, changing that back texture as well. Something you'll notice, something I did in the last build as well, is I haven't put stairs in yet. I forgot to do it again, and we do it much later on when we get to the upstairs. Anyway, coming to something you really need in a bar is a TV, because people like to sit around and watch football in bars. So yeah, had to go ahead and add a TV. Nice sofa there as well. Go for the grey on the sofa. I didn't want anything that necessarily stood out too much. I wanted something nice and subtle and easy on the eyes. So a nice grey sofa and a couple of chairs there was exactly what fit in quite nicely. Adding some rugs to the front door as well. Trying to come up with something that just worked. And in the end, I found that rug. It looked good by the chairs, and then that rug looked good by the door. Adding a bit more clutter around the place. I think we had a plant as well. Yep, there we go. Adding a nice plant into the corner. Adding another plant to that corner. I'm pretty sure I replaced that with a lamp at some point. There's really a lack of good decorative, like, floor plants in The Sims 4. I know you can scale things up. There's me considering adding a sign. Yeah, I know you can scale things up, but I really wish they added more actual decorative floor plants, because there's just not enough of them. There were loads of them in the last Sims games, and you haven't really got that many in this one. And actually, something to mention, there's the namesake of this pub. You can see it on the table. It's also that painting. That painting crops up a couple more times. There's a load of roosters. There's the rooster on that coffee table. There's a rooster in the painting. There's going to be another rooster statue thing downstairs. And I think there's 2 rooster paintings upstairs. That's why this is called the Mighty Cock. Okay? I forgot to mention that at the very beginning, but that's why it's called the Mighty Cock. Adding in more decorative wall pieces there. I love that big piece. The thing I realized with that, though, is it's so complicated and all these different sizes. There wasn't really much I could put below it. Because I didn't want there to be too much going on here. So a couple of books and a nice plant, and that pretty much set it off nicely. Now it came time to add in some tables. I wasn't sure about this to begin with. I was considering not doing tables at all, just having chairs, but I figured some tables with different amount of chairs would look good. You know, we've got tables of 4 chairs, we've got 3 chairs, and we've got 2 chairs. I don't know. I think it looks good. I think it looks alright. Now again, we come to the issue of there being no good floor plants. They're too big, or they're too little, and it just annoyed me. So we end up adding this dapper looking bust with a top hat on his head, just to fill in the space. That's literally it. There was a space there I couldn't really do much with, so a nice bust statue looked pretty good. Gonna be adding some of these circular rugs below each of the tables. I think I did this in the last build as well, but I just love those circular rugs. I think they look really good below tables, and they do a reasonable job. Adding in a couple more, or considering adding in a couple more armchairs there, but we actually come across, I come up with the idea to add in another bit of bar, so you can sit and drink and enjoy your drink while watching TV, while facing the TV, and I think it looks really good, and I don't know, I like it. I just like it. I'm pretty sure this is where we add the second rooster. Yeah, there we go. We add another rooster there just to tie into the namesake of this bar. And we're moving on to the bathrooms. Bathrooms are simple, just a toilet and a sink in each of them. I do have lights in there, but they're really dull, so I think I, later on in the build, come back and add different lights. Adding a bit of art to the corridor there, and we're on to the kitchen. Now the kitchen, as I said earlier, the kitchen, well, isn't really ever going to be used that much. I'm pretty sure Sims will be able to come back here and cook stuff, but it's going to be a little bit weird. You know, it's going to be Sims coming into the kitchen who don't work here, don't have any purpose here, etc, etc, and just cooking. And I know that's strange, but I really wanted, I just wanted a kitchen back here, because I want the bar to serve food. I want you to be able to come in here and get a beer and a burger, basically, you know? That's what I want, and you can't really do that in The Sims 4. I don't think there's any way you can have, like, I think you can go up to and order food. I think you can only order drinks, and that's something I think we're really missing, because I'm pretty sure you've been able to do it in every other Sims game, even if it's just by going to a park, up to a stand and getting a hot dog or something. I think you can do it in the other Sims games, and I'm really annoyed that you can't quite do it in this one. I know in The Sims 1 there was an expansion that had restaurants, effectively. I think all of them have had restaurants, but I think The Sims 1 had actual diners that you could work with, but whatever, that's not in this game. Now I'm changing the kitchen about here a little bit, extending the walls, because this is where I realized I didn't put the stairs in. I considered putting it in this corridor, but well, you'll see what we do with them in a little bit. I realized the stairs aren't going to work in here. and I remember, or rather I realized that this bit is actually under the extension, under the bit of roof, so there's nothing I can do, but I realized the stairs will actually look really good over here. And I'm really happy with how they look there. I moved the 3-chaired table into that corner and add a bit of railing, and I think it looks really good. And before we go to the upstairs and decorate that, we're actually going to be moving out to the beer garden. Now, this is something I wanted to do, and I remembered to do before moving upstairs. I wanted to put some tables out here and some lights as well. Some nice outdoor lights for the exterior of the bar here. Considering a nice big light there, but it looked a bit silly. It was too big, didn't fit in, and I just didn't like it. Now, it's quite simple, the decorative stuff we have out here. I said decorative, it's all surfaces, it's all functional. We have some tables, some picnic tables, and I love them. I think picnic tables just look really good in a beer garden. I don't know, if you've ever been to a beer garden, tell me, do they have picnic tables, or do they have tables with umbrella things over them? Because I don't know, maybe I'm going a little bit overboard and making a fancy beer garden or something, but I really like it. I wanted to add some grass to this corner because there wasn't really anything else I could add that looked reasonable. And I still, I don't like this even looking back at it. I can't remember if I end up getting rid of it. I honestly don't. I think I get rid of it. Actually, you know what? I don't think I do get rid of it. I think I know what I do with that. I moved the, I end up moving the tables that we have in the corner and putting a chair over there. One of those benches over there. There we go, putting that in the corner. I'm not a fan of the grass in the corner, but we needed something green there just to break up all of the brown that's going on in the area, because there's a lot of it, and I'm actually looking at that and I'm not happy with it. But whatever the case, it's too late now. I'll go back and change it, maybe. Or maybe not. Anyway, we've moved upstairs, and we're going to be turning this into... It's basically another bar. It is basically another bar, but I consider it more of a lounge, is the thing. And I consider it more of a lounge because there's no TV, it's more laid back, and there's more sofas. Also, I love this exterior. I love those baskets with the kind of bigger baskets around them. I think they look brilliant. They add just that little bit more detail to the exterior of the build that I think it really needed, and I could not be happier. I genuinely love those big baskets and the roses and all that stuff. It adds some much needed color, not over the top color, just some much needed color to the build. I don't know, maybe you don't like it, but I thought it looked absolutely brilliant. Just changing up the front there. Again, Stream Chat at the time was trying to get me to find something that would work better over that peaked roof, but there wasn't anything. There's no rounded wood windows, so there wasn't really anything I could do there, and that was kind of annoying, honestly. I would love if we had some rounded wood windows, some semicircle windows, or whatever the case. Just something that would work there and work better. Although, I suppose, unfortunately, we don't, so there wasn't really anything I could do about that. But alas, we just moved on with the build and got on with this upstairs area, which, as I said, ends up being a bit more of a quiet lounge as opposed to the downstairs bar, which is going to be for all of the riffraff and all of that stuff. For some reason, the pillars at each of the corners wind up inside. Is that a bug or something? Couldn't tell you, but whatever it was, the pillars wind up on the inside as opposed to the outside, but we just fixed that anyway. Adding in some lights, of course, here, and we actually end up opting for the smaller bar. We don't go for a big bar up here. We go for this little one. We go for 2 of them, so it ends up being exactly the same friggin' size. But I do like the idea that you'd have 2 people manning the bar up here instead of the one that we'll have downstairs. And I don't know. I just like the look of these bars a little bit more. Going for a more traditional stool here as well. We do go for the big old counter behind here, and I think we actually change the look about a little bit as well. We get rid of the rightmost counter. There we go. We get rid of the rightmost island there, and we have a similar look to downstairs, but a also unique look up here as well that I really love to bits. I love how it looks up here, and I'm pretty sure here comes the 2 pictures. Yeah, there it is. The mighty cock is back. Hashtag mighty cock. Let's get that trending. Oh god. Let's not. Good lord. Let's change the floor a little bit. We go for a nice dark wood. I really love the dark wood. I think it looks fantastic. does a wonderful job. Looking at the painting up close there, I really like some of the paintings of this. Some of the paintings of The Sims 4 are really, really good looking. I mean, some of the ones in The Sims 3 were pretty good, but the ones in this just, they really fit. I mean, they kind of fit anywhere. A lot of the frames are very pub-like, but I don't know. Anyway, messing around with the wallpapers here, I wanted something a bit different, so I ended up going with a nice red on that back wall, and then changed the rest of them to white. And I think the red accent wall actually looks really good. Now, this is where we put in a fireplace. Didn't end up putting a chimney on top of this place, but we do have a fireplace and a bit of clutter around it as well. Another coat rack over there. And we do end up adding some very, very red chairs here. That's just to sort of match these stools and the accent wall that we have going on here, and I don't know, I kind of like it. Adding in the same rug that we have downstairs, though, I know someone's going to be a little bit annoyed about that, but that's the only reasonably sized oval rug that we have, so I'm going to use it over and over again where necessary. Once they add more, I'll switch it up a bit, okay? But for the meantime, just give me a break. I wish they added more stuff. The game is just out, and I really want an expansion pack. I mean, I'm not one for throwing my money at EA, but EA, if you release an expansion pack now, I will buy it. I will buy it. Anyway, adding in another couple of armchairs here. I wasn't sure if the Sims would actually be able to sit on those with the coffee table right, or the dining table right there, so I changed it up about a little bit. And I think it looks much better. I really do. I think it looks much better like that. And I'm pretty sure we're nearing completion. We do need to sort out the bathrooms and the upper landing area. But aside from a coffee table and a stereo, I think we're pretty much done with the upper floor, or at least the upper bar area. As I said, another 2 bathrooms there. They're pretty much identical to the ones below. We do need to grab the flooring there as well, and the flooring from down below. We changed the flooring out in this kind of upper landing area. We go with the dark wood again. Yeah, there we go. Just changed it up a bit. I love that dark wood texture. I think it looks absolutely fantastic. Adding in some art here just to decorate the place. This is kind of a big thing with this particular build. It was the previous build, light reading was very open and minimalist to a degree. There was some decorative stuff about the place, but I mean, everything was very, you know, one solid color and one solid shape. Everything was very square and all of that. This, not so much. This is all on various angles and about the place, and just looks a bit more cozy and looks like a bar. There's some exterior shots of it there, just changing things about. I do need to add in some trash cans, and I messed up. Oh yeah, right at the end, I discovered I couldn't put stairs there, so I wind up going off for 20 minutes to work out how to do it, and I figure stairs on the side will have to do, because I'm not changing the front of this. It did mean I could do this. I actually really like that. I think it looks absolutely fantastic, and it was meant to be, I suppose, because it just looks that bit better. So, of course, adding a trash can outside, we do add one to the kitchen and one to the corner over by the door to the beer garden. Move that trash can to there, and a little bit of decoration just out front here was necessary. Just some plants to bring some color down to this grey rectangle that we had here. I wasn't really happy with it, so just a couple of plants similar to what we did behind the library, and a couple of lights to the outside, and that, ladies and gentlemen, is going to be that. Here's a screenshot of the front of the build, my sim and another sim standing outside just there. A screenshot from the beer garden, looking absolutely fantastic right there. We're gonna have one on the inside lower bar. We're gonna have one, I think we have another one for the inside lower bar, and then that'll be followed up by one from the upper bar. Anyway, folks, that is going to be it. If you have any suggestions for future builds, do feel free to let me know. I've been the ConflictNerd, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.